He quickly snatched a glass from the table, tore from the spot, and an instant later was on the steps of the terrace. The prince was about to run after him, but it so happened that, as if on purpose, at that same moment Yevgeny Pavlovich held out his hand to say goodbye. A second passed, and suddenly a general cry arose on the terrace. Then came a moment of extreme disarray. Here is what happened. Having gone right to the steps of the terrace, Hippolyte stopped, holding the glass in his left hand, his right hand thrust into the right side pocket of his coat. Keller insisted later that Hippolyte had kept that hand in his right pocket before as well, while he was talking with the prince and clutching at his shoulder and collar with his left hand, and this right hand in the pocket, Keller insisted, had supposedly aroused a first suspicion in him. Be that as it may, a certain uneasiness made him also run after Hippolyte. But he, too, was late. He saw only how something suddenly flashed in Hippolyte's right hand, and in that same second the small pocket pistol was pressed to his temple. Keller rushed to seize his hand, but in that same second Hippolyte pulled the trigger. The sharp, dry click of the trigger rang out, but no shot followed. As Keller put his arms around Hippolyte, the latter collapsed as if unconscious, perhaps indeed imagining that he was killed. The pistol was already in Keller's hand. Hippolyte was picked up, a chair was brought, he was seated, and everyone crowded around, everyone shouted, everyone asked questions. Everyone had heard the click of the trigger and now saw the man alive, not even scratched. Hippolyte himself sat, not understanding what was happening, and looked at everyone around him with senseless eyes. Lebedev and Kolya came running at that moment. A misfire? Some asked. Maybe it's not loaded? Others tried to guess. It is loaded, Keller announced, examining the pistol, but a misfire, then. There wasn't any cap, Keller declared. It is hard to describe the pitiful scene that followed. The initial and general alarm quickly gave way to laughter, some even guffawed, finding a malicious pleasure in it. Hippolyte sobbed as if in hysterics, wrung his hands, rushed to everyone, even to Ferdishchenko, seized him with both hands, and swore to him that he had forgotten quite by chance and not on purpose to put a cap in, that the caps are all here in his waistcoat pocket, about 10 of them, He showed them to everyone around him, that he had not put one in earlier for fear it might accidentally go off in his pocket, that he had reckoned he would always have time to put one in when necessary, and had suddenly forgotten. He rushed to the prince, to Yevgeny Pavlovitch. He implored Keller to give him the pistol, so that he could prove it to them all right then, that his honor, that he was now dishonored forever. In the end he really fell unconscious? They carried him to the prince's study, and Lebedev, completely sobered, immediately sent for the doctor and stayed at the sick boy's bedside, along with his daughter, his son, Burdovsky, and the general. When the unconscious Hippolyte was taken out, Keller stepped to the middle of the room and announced for everyone to hear, distinctly and emphasizing each word, in decided inspiration. Gentlemen, if any of you doubts once more, aloud, in my presence, whether the cap was forgotten on purpose, and begins to maintain that the unfortunate young man was only putting on a show, that person will have to deal with me. No one answered him. The guests finally left in a crowd unhurriedly. Tin, Ganya, and Rogozhin went off together. The prince was very surprised that Yevgeny Pavlovitch had changed his mind and was leaving without having a talk with him. "Didn't you want to talk to me once everyone was gone?" he asked him. "So I did," said Yevgeny Pavlovitch, suddenly sitting down on a chair and sitting the prince down next to him, "but for the time being I've changed my mind." "I'll confess to you that I'm somewhat perplexed, and you are, too. My thoughts are confused. Besides, the matter I wanted to talk over with you is all too important for me, and for you, too." "You see, Prince, I would like at least once in my life to do a completely honest deed, that is, completely without second thoughts, but I think that right now, at this moment, I'm not quite capable of a completely honest deed, and perhaps you're not either, well, we'll talk later." Perhaps the matter will gain in clarity, both for me and for you, if we wait those 3 days which I shall now be spending in Petersburg. Here he got up from his chair again. which made it strange that he had sat down at all. It also seemed to the prince that Yevgeny Pavlovitch was displeased and irritated and looked about hostilely, and his gaze was not at all what it had been yesterday. By the way, are you going to the sufferer now? Yes, I'm afraid, said the prince. Don't be afraid, he'll probably live another 6 weeks and may even recover here. But the best thing would be to send him away tomorrow. Maybe I really forced his hand by not saying anything. Maybe he thought that I, too, doubted that he would shoot himself? What do you think, Yevgeny Pavlik? No, no. It's too kind of you to be still worried. I've heard of it, but I've never seen in real life how a man can purposely shoot himself in order to be praised, or out of spite at not being praised. Above all, this sincerity of weakness is not to be believed. But you should still send him away tomorrow. You think he'll shoot himself again? No, he won't shoot himself now. But you should beware of these homegrown lay snares 21 of ours. I repeat to you that crime is all too common a resort for such giftless, impatient, and greedy nonentities. Is he a Lacenaire? The essence is the same, though the line may be different.